When it comes to finding range, it will largely depend on your stance. Some people tend to be a little bit more bladed. They're going to have a nice long lead hand and maybe even long lead side kicks, possibly long teeps as well, long push kicks. The problem is anything from the rear is going to take a big wind up, and they will often feel that they have to get super close to land that. Alternatively, if you tend to fight a little bit squarer, yes, you may be able to land all of your shots quite directly, but your overall range is going to be shorter simply because you're not getting the full turn and extension through your shoulders or through your hips. People want to know which is better to fight at. It's going to come down to how effective you are at creating the angles and the opportunities to land your shots. Whether you fight bladed or slightly more square is actually personal preference. Consider drilling on the bag the bladed stance. How can you set up solid rear shots? And from here, yeah, I can flick out my jab, I can find the bag nice and easily. But I'm very heavy on the lead leg when I do that. Being heavy on the lead leg, I'm going to have to really come up and turn to get my kicks in there. If I'm bladed but my weight's on my rear leg, I can start to put my kicks in a little bit more. When it comes to transitioning between the two and getting your rear hand off, if you are playing a bladed lead stance, off the jab, you're going to want to step out, allowing you now to open your hips up and come in with that rear. One of the difficult things is finding the correct combination. That's why a lot of people that fight bladed will circle, because as they're circling round, they open up their hips or their rear hand as people walk into the shot. When you're squarer, yeah, you can land a lot of your shots far more easily, but things can come straight down the line at you. I find when it comes to fighting square, to land cleaner shots, it's less about circling on the angle and more about working a triangle or a diagonal angle. So you'll throw your shots and you may slide back. They miss something, allowing you to open up your extra shots as you're moving in your diagonals. When you start to combine all of this together, you start to understand how to move regardless of how you're standing. So if I'm bladed, I can move forwards, backwards, left and right far more easily to start opening up my shots as I'm switching and moving. If I'm square, I can circle around with my looping shots and still find more angles. There's no one way to move. A lot of what I'm trying to say here, in a very long-winded way, is practice moving forwards, backwards, left, right, circling, and on a diagonal. When you start to master that, regardless of how your stance is, being bladed or squarer, you'll be able to make up for your shortcomings and find your range. But the key thing with finding any range is knowing where your center of mass is, can be forwards, can be back, ideally through the middle, and creating the opportunity to send your rear hand. You don't just throw the rear or the rear kick, you have to set it up through your moving, and that's when now you can land